Shut up and sit down.
Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Just as you're settling down for the evening, you're looking at your watch, you're checking for when NXT and AEW Dynamite's about to start, settling in for another edition of the Wednesday Night Wars. The first time, of course, that the Wednesday Night Wars have been back for a while. And then you've got your previews ready. So we've got previews tonight coming out for both NXT and AEW. And then suddenly, just wouldn't you know it, we get some breaking news about the status of Wade Barrett with NXT. So I thought I'd jump on the stream quickly, just give you my immediate thoughts. Let's cover it, give some details about what to expect, why they've done this, my thoughts on why Wade Barrett is with now the WWE permanently, and just a little bit of an extra preview on top of the preview that's already gone up on the channel. But this time it's all about Wade Barrett, because if you haven't heard, it's only been broken in the last 15 minutes or so, if that. Wade Barrett, former Intercontinental Champion, has officially signed with NXT as part of the commentary team. The WWE released a statement on their website saying, quote, Wade Barrett has officially signed with NXT as part of the commentary team. The former Intercontinental Champion has been part of the announced team in recent weeks alongside Vic Joseph and Beth Phoenix. As first reported by Sports Illustrated, Barrett will now remain as an official member of the announced team. The former King of the Ring returned as a color analyst for the Black and Gold brand after several years away from WWE, end quote. So, Wade Barrett is back with the WWE. Obviously, they've dropped this news about 2 hours before NXT goes on the air to get some buzz on social media, because every Wednesday, not only does AEW beat NXT in the ratings and the demo most of the times, but they also beat them in the social media statistics. AEW regularly trends worldwide at the very least, sometimes number one. It's very, very popular online because it does so well in the 18 to 49 demo, which is traditionally the people that use social media, especially the likes of Twitter. So WWE is doing what they can. NXT is doing what they can, of course, in dropping this news just before NXT goes on the air. Now, before we get into his interview, because this news, as WWE mentioned, was first broken by Sports Illustrated, Justin Barrazo over there at Sports Illustrated, it was first broken by them. Before we get into the comments that Wade Barrett has made, because some of them are very, very interesting about his future with NXT and his in-ring future as well as his commentary future with the company, I must first say, obviously, massively congratulations to Wade Barrett. I'm a big fan of his work on commentary, and that's not biased because obviously he's British. I am genuinely a big fan of his work. He's honed his craft in commentary for quite a few years now. If you're not familiar with his commentary work prior to coming back to WWE and being on NXT, he's been a color commentator for the National Wrestling Alliance. He was a color commentator that replaced Jim Cornette on NWA Power. And if anything, I felt he was a bit of an upgrade from Cornette, if I'm going to be brutally honest. I thought he was very, very good in that role as a color commentator on NWA Power. Obviously, 2020 is such a wild year because prior to the pandemic, you would have probably never said Wade Barrett is going to go, or the time Stu Bennett is going to go to NXT and become a commentator, because he was so ingrained with NXT, there's so many acronyms at the moment. There's NXT, AEW, all of that sort of stuff. But he was so ingrained with the NWA, rather, that I just wouldn't have felt that he was going to go anywhere else, because he was involved in the announcement of the Crockett Cup event when that was going to happen and all of that stuff. So I wouldn't have said that I saw that coming, but pandemic happened. Thunder Rosa did an interview recently and said that the NWA contracts changed during the pandemic because they're not running shows and because they shut down. Basically, the contracts changed, said if you can pick up bookings somewhere else, do it. They're letting people out of their contracts. That's how the likes of Eddie Kingston, etc., got out of their contracts, and it's the same with Wade Barrett here. I'm under the impression that with the NWA, he basically said, look, I've got this offer with the WWE, I'm going to do it, and the NWA didn't stop him and said, fine, that's what we'll do. So Wade Barrett is now officially with the WWE. So before we get into the interview that he did with Sports Illustrated, let's double check the chat quickly. If you are new to the channel, please do smash a like on this video and give us a subscribe. We are very close to 1,000 subscribers, so if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Brian is with us tonight. He says, my ribs are hurting from laughing. My friend, a Spurs fan, thinks they get Bale back, who left 7 years ago, but they going to win everything, but happy for Wade. Yes, very happy for Wade. Very happy for Wade. So he said during this interview with Sports Illustrated, he confirmed that's a 1-year deal, which has an option to extend the partnership, which is probably right. I think the way you look at this when it comes to contracts at the moment, WWE has to be very, very careful in the contracts that they give out. And the reason I say that is because they let go 20 to 30% of their talent roster back in April. So that is still very, very raw for a lot of people. So if now WWE starts hiring new talent and dishing out deals left, right, and center, people rightfully so are going to say, what the hell? You just let go a boatload of talent. Why would you do that? So obviously that's why I think a 1-year deal, plus it allows flexibility for Wade. And obviously, like he said, there's an option to extend the partnership, which ultimately I do think they will do. But he said, when speaking to Sports Illustrated, he said, quote, I hope this lasts for a long time. That's our intent. He says there's no bad news to share, but never forget there's always a little bad news up my sleeve. Of course, as well, Wade Barrett joins the NXT broadcast team of Vic Joseph and Beth Phoenix. This broadcast team in NXT has radically changed this year. At one point, it was Mauro Ranallo, Beth Phoenix, and Nigel McGuinness prior to the pandemic. Post-pandemic, it was Tom Phillips, Beth Phoenix, and Mauro Ranallo. It was Vic Joseph, Beth Phoenix, and Mauro Ranallo, and now it's Vic Joseph, Beth Phoenix, and Wade Barrett. So it is completely changed, apart from Beth Phoenix, who is the constant here, from Mauro Ranallo, Nigel McGuinness, and Beth Phoenix. And even prior to Beth Phoenix coming aboard, of course, it was Mauro Ranallo, Nigel McGuinness, and Percy Watson. So it's just crazy how much can change from an aesthetic and broadcast point of view in just a couple of years, because that broadcast team of Ranallo, Watson, and McGuinness was the broadcast team in 2018. We're only in 2020 now. That was only 2 years ago. I know it feels like a million years ago because of the craziness that we've experienced this year, but it's incredible to see how much the broadcast team is changing. And as far as Mauro Ranallo goes, look, you know my thoughts on him. I've been very vocal about it before. I do think he's the best announcer in the world right now. I don't think anyone touches Mauro Ranallo, if I'm going to be honest. I think there's so much that's great about him. There's an instant credibility because he's commentated on everything, whether it is professional wrestling, pro boxing, MMA, sports, you name it. Mauro Ranallo there's instant credibility with that voice. That's one. The passion that he has, and some people will say it's over the top, and maybe on some occasions it is, but the passion he has genuinely does add to the product. I felt that when I was watching NXT TakeOver 30 several weeks ago, which was the first show without Mauro Ranallo before he departed the WWE, I just felt that it didn't feel like a takeover without him. He had just become so synonymous with NXT TakeOver, so synonymous with those big matches, big moments, classic matches. I just felt that he really was the soundtrack of NXT. There's obviously a lot made about NXT Loud, whether it's heavy metal bands and the different style that NXT presents as opposed to WWE, the different aesthetic that NXT has in comparison to WWE. But Mauro Ranallo for me really was the soundtrack. He really was the heartbeat of it, because I think he fit the brand so well and he suited it so well. So it is a shame, but I think in reality he decided that he wanted to leave and he wanted to focus on other issues. He has no ill will towards WWE or NXT or anything like that. It sucks, unfortunately, but these things happen and you have to move on. In reality, the list of great broadcasters that are out there right now, there aren't a million of them. There really aren't. And I think they've pivoted very well, NXT, in that Vic Joseph, I think, does a good job. I don't think he was ready for that spot on Monday Night Raw when he was given it. I was very surprised at the time that it didn't go to Tom Phillips, and I think Tom Phillips is the right guy for Monday Night Raw now, and I was surprised, to be honest, that Vic Joseph was given that spot. I think he suits NXT well, but I think they've done the right thing of bringing in someone like a Wade Barrett. I think that's very, very good. And I'm one of those people that I like my color commentators to be former wrestlers. They add credibility. When they put over a talent in the ring, it means more than just your random analyst. And I think Wade Barrett is an excellent addition. And I also think Beth Phoenix does a fantastic job too. So I like this lineup of Vic Joseph, Beth Phoenix, and Wade Barrett. To me, it doesn't hold a candle to Ronaldo, Phoenix, and McGuinness. But times move on. We all have our favorites. It's just, that's how thing works. It's just preferences, isn't it? Commentary is like listening to music. It's different soundtracks. People like different genres, and people like different commentators. That's how this works. So continuing to discuss his move to NXT, his signing with NXT. If you've just joined us, Wade Barrett signing with WWE as a full-time NXT commentator, signed a 1-year contract with an option to extend. Wade Barrett said, quote, "Our aim is to be different, a little more unique than other WWE programming. We don't want to be a carbon copy of what you hear on Raw and SmackDown. I've known Beth for years, and she is incredibly talented. I am just getting to know Vic. I'm excited to learn from and work with both of them, and I'm really excited to develop this into a really tight unit." He also mentioned the whole this isn't a developmental brand, talked about following the careers of the likes of the Undisputed Era, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, Rhea Ripley for a long time. He also talked about more up-and-comers like Bronson Reed and Ridge Holland, etc. like that. He also, what I thought was quite interesting, pointed out that he's especially excited to call Shotzi Blackheart on a weekly basis. She's going to be a massive star. And I agree that. If you've watched the NXT preview that I put on the channel earlier, if you haven't, it's on the channel, go check it out. I mentioned that I'm a big fan of Shotzi Blackheart, and again, I think she's going to be a massive star. I think she's so unique and so different to what they have in WWE right now, and she's money in the bank. You just have to find a way to fit her in, and my only concern is I don't know how she would fit on the main roster. I think she is so perfect for an NXT presentation. I would worry that she goes up to the main roster, she's treated like a second-hand Ruby Riott, and that's no diss to Ruby Riott, but you get my point. Now, what is interesting as well is that Wade Barrett in this interview discussed how he's not finished as an in-ring competitor. A lot of people were under the assumption that because he was doing commentary with the NWA on NWA Power, and he did a commentary also on World of Sport over here in the UK on ITV2, he was part of that revival of World of Sport, which was a big deal over here. Being on ITV is a massive deal over here. And then coming in as a commentator here at NXT, a lot of people were under the assumption that Wade Barrett was finished. He had retired. There were rumors that when he left WWE in 2016, he had a severe neck injury and he was having numbness issues in his arms and in his hands, which is never a good thing, especially when it comes to neck injuries. And people thought he was done. But Wade Barrett's kind of poo-pooed that. He said that's really not the case. He opened up about why he left the WWE in 2016 and that he is not done in the ring at all. He said, quote, "When I left in 2016, I was emotionally burnt out and beat up. I knew I needed to do some projects away from pro wrestling, but this has always been my passion. And even when I needed some time away, I still found myself looking at the results online and checking out the show on TV. Pro wrestling has always been a true love of mine, especially commentary. Physically, I feel 100%. My body feels incredibly good. I'm not doing commentary because I had a career-ending injury. I want to focus on commentary because I'm passionate about it. That's not to say I won't pull the boots on at some point, but commentary is my focus and I'm extremely excited about it." So that's important there. Wade Barrett isn't ruling out a return to the ring, and the fact that he's saying that, look, it's WWE. It's a matter of time before he ends up back in the ring, because in WWE, if you're cleared to compete, they'll get you in the ring. That's just how it works. Because this is a company, even in NXT, they produce television 52 weeks of the year. There's only so many stories that you can tell. And if you've got someone like Wade Barrett in the commentary booth that is physically able to go and has a story to tell, and he's got a lot of history of NXT. He was the first ever winner of NXT Season 1, right? That is it's almost the NXT people would want to forget, but he is a reminder of that. And he's like a 5-time Intercontinental Champion, former King of the Ring winner. He was the leader of Nexus, which was a big deal for a period of time there, for a hot second before they killed it. So he offers a lot, and he is very good in the ring, and he is a name. So I don't think we'll see him resting on Raw and SmackDown, because I think he's really all in with the NXT brand. But I think I could see him work in an NXT match, perhaps an NXT takeover. Look, Wade Barrett's at this point now that whoever he faces, he'll lose, because he'll put them over because he's the veteran, and he'll make a guy. And even though that they say that, you know, this isn't developmental and this is the main roster, this is a third brand, I still do go against that, because I do think it still, for me, feels like developmental in the fact that there isn't this synergy with Raw and SmackDown. And I understand the counter argument to that is, but they're doing different presentations, that's why there's no synergy, etc. But you still have people getting called up to Raw and SmackDown, Keith Lee and Matt Riddle. When you have drafts, they only include Raw and SmackDown. So you can't say that it's not developmental when it still feels like that. You don't have big stars come to NXT. If you want to have this, that it's not developmental, it is a third brand, have Randy Orton come for a year to NXT. Have AJ Styles come for a year to NXT. Put your money where your mouth is. If you want to beat AEW, that's how you do it. And I don't think WWE would do that. But it's a bit of a tangent there. But my point is that I think Wade Barrett will get back in the ring at some point. I do think it'll be in NXT. I think it'll probably be for an NXT takeover. Who would it be against? I have no idea at this point. You know, things can happen. It depends who's the hot person at the time. Maybe he could go against Finn Balor at some point, right? I'd be interested in seeing Finn Balor versus Wade Barrett. Who knows? The NXT takeover Dublin is still on the cards. Who knows if and when it will actually happen, because having an event with loads of fans over here in the UK isn't happening anytime soon, even though they're trialing getting up to 1,000 fans back at sporting events. But we might even be on for a second lockdown over here, so let's not look too far into the future. But I think there could be something there. You know, two Brits, even though Finn Balor's Irish, but you get my point. Two of those kind of people brought up in the European style, that could be a lot of fun. But I think that might be better suited for a European crowd at an NXT UK takeover. My point being, there's a lot they can do here. Whether it be Wade Barrett versus Walter, I mean, that would be a ton of fun. Talk about competing for the NXT UK Championship. Walter isn't even from the UK, so you could have Wade Barrett try and do something like that. It's a lot of what if, and it's a lot of fantasy booking there, so who knows? But I think it's a great call, and I'm very happy to see that Wade Barrett has been signed permanently. I think it's a great signing for them, because realistically, who else are they going to put in there? I think he's done a fantastic job. So I think it's very, very good. Also, an interesting point before we wrap this up here. During this interview with Sports Illustrated, he was asked, interestingly, that, as I mentioned, Wade Barrett was the leader of the Nexus faction, and there's a faction that is very similar in WWE right now, obviously the faction known as Retribution. Now, if you want to know the identities of the 5 Retribution members, we did a video on the channel about it, so be sure to check that out. Not really surprising. I think a lot of people could have guessed their identities over the last few weeks anyway during their promos. But Wade Barrett was asked by Sports Illustrated about the Retribution storyline. He noted that there were similarities between Nexus and Retribution. So he was asked, "Are you the leader of Retribution?" And Wade Barrett said, "My focus is on commentary and NXT, but you know what? I'm not going to kill the Retribution rumor. My Twitter hasn't stopped blowing up since they first appeared. People seem to be happy accusing me of being under the mask, so I'll let them carry on." First of all, that's Wade Barrett just trying to stir the pot. He's not a part of Retribution. He's not going to be a part of Retribution. We know the identities of those that are members of Retribution. Wade Barrett isn't involved in that, so I think it's just, the fact that I'm talking about it now probably is exactly why he said it. So that's that. Also, Wade Barrett expressed his gratitude for the opportunity to return in such a high-profile role. He said, quote, "I am as passionate and as motivated and as excited to be in the NXT broadcast booth as I have ever been to be in the ring. I can't wait for the next few months and the next few years. I am thrilled to share stories of the stars of NXT, and I'm very grateful for the chance to entertain people every week. I'm so excited for this new role," end quote. So, like I said, Wade Barrett is back with the WWE full-time. He has signed a full-time deal to be a commentator on the NXT brand, to remain as a color commentator after what would appear to almost be a 2-week trial on these NXT Super Tuesday shows. He signed a 1-year deal with an option to extend, but to be honest, it will likely extend. I think it's a fantastic signing by WWE. I'm very, very pleased for Wade Barrett. I think he's an excellent color commentator. His work in NWA and World of Sport proved that, and his recent work the last 2 weeks on NXT has been very good too. He adds to a good commentary team. Obviously, nothing's going to top Mauro Ranallo, but I don't think it's compare them because they do different jobs. Mauro Ranallo is a play-by-play guy, whereas Wade Barrett is a color commentator, and a very good one at that. So I think it's fantastic news, and congratulations to him. Let's check the chat before we round this up. Brian says, Tom missing Raw for 2 weeks, WWE covering up that he might have COVID. Probably. It's likely. Ultimately, I don't want to really speculate on that. It's not for me to say. It's his health, and it's his to disclose if he wants to disclose it. It's like any other medical condition. If he wants to disclose it, he can disclose it. I'm never a massive fan of when people, like some of the wrestling websites, say this guy's out because he's got COVID. It should be for him to come out or her to come out to say that they've got it. It's not for anyone else to make that call. But if he's off for 2 weeks, you can obviously draw your conclusions of that. Probably the same as Samoa Joe. But thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, and joining me on this brief stream as we've discussed Wade Barrett signing with WWE and NXT tonight. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe as we close in on 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Bottom right hand corner of the screen. If you've enjoyed this video or this stream, be sure to smash a like on the like button as well. Really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings, and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. You can also follow us on all of our social media platforms. The handles are on the screen right now. The links are in the description box below. It's at 365Wrestle on Twitter and Instagram, and at WrestleNews365 on Facebook. So be sure to give us a like or a follow there. But before we go, here's a quick word from one of our great presenters of WrestleNews365. Support for WrestleNews365 is brought Manscaped. For all of my UK fans out there, Manscaped just launched in the UK. Over here in the United Kingdom, we have gone for years and years and years without using the right tools for the job. But now you can be one of the first men in England to experience their life-changing product. But it's not just limited to all of the great fans over here in the UK. This offer goes worldwide, so all of my friends over in America and around the world that are listening to this offer still does apply for you. You can still use our code. But I've got to tell you a quick story first. Now, there have been so many times, right? I'm a guy. You gotta groom down there, fellas, right? That's the most important thing. You gotta keep yourself trimmed. You gotta keep yourself proper. And a lot of the time, I've been guilty of this, of using the wrong tools for the job. I've had incidences, I'm not afraid to say it, where things have been nicked, snagged, or in fact cut down there because I wasn't being careful enough and using the right equipment. Now that just shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. You don't want to be worrying about cutting yourself down there. Do you know how painful that is? I can tell you, it hurts quite a lot. And I wish and hope to God it never happens to me again, and it won't happen to me ever again because I'm using Manscaped products. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team has perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created. Big statement, but it's absolutely true. They have just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0 in the UK. It's also available around the world as well. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. So those cuts and snags that I was telling you about before are a thing of the past. And let me tell you, when I tell you this is premium, I mean premium. The battery will last up to 90 minutes so you can get a longer, perfect shave. And not only that, you don't want to be cutting yourself and trimming yourself all over the bathroom, getting hair all over the place. That's just disgusting. The lawnmower has a waterproof technology that allows you to groom in the shower, so no more mess. And one of the coolest features, one of my favorite features about the lawnmower, is the LED light which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming experience. So you can shave longer, you can shave more precisely, and you can shave in the shower. What more did I need to tell you? They've also upgraded to a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology, and let's not forget about the charging stand. You can show off your mower loud and proud because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB. So, if you are listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience it firsthand for yourself. Let's get that bush to tush clean, and you can get 20% off and free shipping. Yeah, you heard me right there. 20% off and free shipping. All you have to do is use the code 365wrestle at manscaped.com. Make your testes their besties. That's 20% off and free shipping. Not only are you getting 20% off, you're getting free shipping as well with the code 365wrestle at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code 365wrestle. Your balls will thank you.